Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I've got a new Cardfight Vanguard video for you guys today, and it is finally time. The Cardfight Vanguard Divinez anime has returned. We are on season 3, the Divine Deluxe arc. So, first off, excuse my appearance. I'm recording this after finally watching the episode and streaming. It is 2:30 in the morning, so didn't mean to look this disheveled, but I want to get my thoughts out while I can. Also, I want to talk to you guys real quick about these anime breakdowns, where I basically talk about everything that happened in the episode, obviously new card reveals and all that stuff. These videos take a lot of work. They take a lot of time. I have to record the episode, I have to get the clips, I have to write out everything that happened just to make sure that I have all my thoughts organized, record it, edit it. It's pretty time consuming. And normally, last season I was able to watch the episode Friday night, do all the make the video between Friday night into Saturday morning, and then be able to post it by Saturday afternoon. It's gonna be a little bit tougher now because of my new work schedule, so I will do the best I can, but some of these episodes might be a little late. Just I would appreciate your guys' support if you guys do enjoy these breakdowns of the episode. But enough from me, we got a lot to talk about, so let's go jump into the episode. You drop a like on the video, subscribe, let's do it. So the episode kicks off with a flash forward. You don't see that very often, but basically it's Akina fighting the new rival character, Kagetsu Yakumo. We don't know much about Kagetsu. We do learn a little bit about him during this episode, but this beginning is just them fighting, and he basically asks Akina to answer a question. And all we see is while they're fighting, we get some epic shots of his boss unit fighting Raziel, and Akina says, "To me, Vanguard is," and it cuts out. We actually get to see the new intro. New intro's okay. I think I still prefer the second season one better, but we get this shot of our glorious queen Mirai with Buff Sagra, and I was giddy. You guys know I'm so excited for the new Buff Sagra. There's also some other great stuff in the opening. We got to see a lot of new cards, a lot of new units. Got to see new Griffogila. I'm really excited for this season. So we get back to the episode, and we see Gui sitting in front of a monitor, looking at all the people that are going to be invited to the Deluxe. And obviously we have some new characters, some old characters, and then we get a montage of a bunch of different characters getting their invitations. Michiru's talking about how excited he is to be fighting against people again. And after everybody gets their invitations, we get to see Jinky giving his invitation to Yakumo. Well, not his invitation, but he's personally giving an invitation to Yakumo, and they call him the legendary front fighter. So Yakumo's got something under his belt. We just don't know much about him yet. Now we jump forward, and now we are at Akina and the rest of the students' school, and Akina is wearing a giant Vanguard mascot uniform, and he is promoting a Vanguard cafe. I guess it's a school festival, and this is their event. We get to see Makoto on stage doing her idol thing with a giant crowd, and basically she is hosting an event while also promoting Vanguard. She's getting to combine her two passions, being an idol and Vanguard. And it's pretty funny because as a special event, they expect her to sing and dance, but she's just like, no, we're not doing that today. Instead, she brings on this homeboy, and Raika shows up. Raika was one of the main rivals from Wildress, and he was an absolute monster. And basically, they're going to have a special event where they're going to play each other, and that's what they're going to do for the crowd. And then they're going to play certain people from the crowd. It was a really, really cool idea. We jump over to Suo and Kuon, and they are in the Vanguard cafe. Suo is cooking while Kuon is being the waiter, because Kuon has the better people skills. And we get to see Suo is obsessed with fighting. All he wants to do is card fight all day long, and he's actually creeping people out because he's just fight over and over again. And it turns out Suo has a little girlfriend. Girl has a little crush on Suo, and she walks in to the cafe talking about wanting to fight the staff, the waiters, and Kuon's like, yeah, that's fine. She's like, what about Suo? And as soon as Suo hears that somebody wants to fight him, he lights up, and we see more emotion on him than we've seen in the past 2 seasons. So he's finally found something that he's really passionate about now. And we also find out that he has an interest in cooking. They talk about everybody enjoying his pancakes, and he was like, yeah, I've recently started to enjoy cooking. And I was just like, it's nice to see Suo actually doing things again. We jump over to Taizo and future Hikari, or as we are going to call her by her new name from here forward, Erika Myojo. I want you to know I love that name. But Taizo had an invite to the Deluxe, showed the clip earlier, but he gives his invite to Erika because he wants Erika to show the world who she is now that she has her new name, her new identity. Apparently she works for Taizo's company and he's trying to set her up for success. So he lets her go so that way she can be her own person, which I think is a really, really nice sentiment from Taizo, though, you know, we wanted new Elstra support. Anyway, we jump back over to the school and we've got Jinky visiting Kuon and Suo. And he basically gives them invites to the Deluxe. He talks about Kuon being chosen by the Destined King, so he knows Kuon's the real deal, and we all know Kuon's a beast. And then he talks about Suo, and I guess Suo has been on a rampage, just fighting people, strong, the stronger the better, and he's been going ham. So he's like, if you want to fight the strongest, this is the place to be. And that piques Suo's interest. We get to meet our other new character, Suzune. I'm going to butcher her last name, Rokuin. She is our other new character. She is very almost robotic with the way she acts. She kind of reminds me of old Suo, but she comes from a family that produces a lot of pro fighters. So she has, you know, there's very high expectations of her. And we see her on a talk show and they talk about that between her, Senka, and Raika, they're the 3 rising stars of Vanguard. So she's already got, you know, a pretty good rep. They say that her style is very calculated, very calm, cool, and collected. And honestly, I'm really excited to see her play between the way her boss unit looks and with that kind of play style. I gravitate toward that kind of play style. She ends up sitting by herself, eating some sweets. Apparently she has a thing for sweets. And then Masanori shows up, the goat himself. And Masanori, he kind of sees through her a little bit, saying that, you know, that she has a little bit of fire because he talks to her, and she basically talks about, you know, it's expected for someone from her family to win the Deluxe, and she kind of has a little bit of pride there. And he ends up giving her invite to the Deluxe. We jump over, we get to see some of our old characters. We get to see Megumi and Team Blackout, my boy Zaxa, for example. And they're basically hyping up Megumi, talking about, you know, Yu won the Deluxe, and now they're trying to bring the Deluxe back to Team Blackout. So it turns out that, you know, the leaders of Blackout, there was Danji, Toya, Yu, and Megumi. And it turns out there was somebody who actually was before Danji who actually put together Team Blackout. And they don't necessarily say it, but they kind of hint that it's Kagetsu. So I thought that was a little interesting thing that they were doing there. We jump over back to the school. We see the results of Raika's fight against Mikoto. Raika, of course, won. And everybody's drawing lots to see who's going to fight who. And Hikari won the lot to fight. President Hikari won the lot to fight against Raika, and she's freaking out about it. So she asks Akina for a little warm-up match. So we do get a little bit of a real little short card fight. So they decide they knew how they were going to start this season. So they go to the cafe and they set up, shut the lights off, and they're ready to go. But when their fight starts, it cuts away and we jump over to Danji and Michiru in America. And they're talking. Danji's still trying to take care of Michiru. His health's still, you know, a little iffy. But he says something that really stood out to me, where basically Michiru is the best player in the world right now. And that's something really cool to think about, because he's about to come to the Deluxe and just wreck everybody. And we know he has the grade 4 draw jewel deck, because we see him with the grade 4 earlier in the episode. But after they're done talking, we hop back over to Hikari and Akina, and we join them mid-match. Now, I went back, watched the footage, and I kind of was able to determine whereabouts we were in the game. So we are at turn 7. This is Hikari went first. This is their turn 7. This is Hikari's divine skill turn. You could tell kind of by the way it went out. Also, Akina used Raziel's skill on his grade 3 turn. So we're going in. The damage is Hikari 4, Akina 3. So Hikari starts her turn. She's already ridden. She's already got her board set up. She's going into her battle phase, and she attacks with Steam Burner Amini Tatana. Akina's in guard. He takes 1 damage, goes to 4. Hikari attacks with Liel Odium, and she uses Liel Odium's skill. When it attacks, you Soul Blast 1, choose a card from your rear guard or hand, put it face up in your regress gauge. This unit gets triple drive. She puts the Amina Datana into the regress gauge. Amina Datana does have a skill when it goes to the regress gauge, giving something 5k, but they don't ever actually mention that she uses that. But Akina uses a perfect guard. Hikari gets her triple drive. She gets a draw trigger and a critical trigger on her triple drive. Gives them to her Anachronous Dragon, because that was her last column. Then she activates Odium's Divine skill after we get a little back and forth between the two of them. Some sibling banter, where because he does all the cooking and I guess he put veggies in her food and she didn't like it, so it was hilarious. And she goes to use her Divine skill, discards 2 cards, and basically, for anybody that doesn't know what Odium's Divine skill is, at the end of the battle that it attacked, if you have 5 or more cards in your regress gauge, you discard 2 cards and you gain an additional turn. But once it goes into your additional turn, you skip your ride phase, you skip your main phase. Odium has -1 drive for the rest of the turn, so it's a really powerful skill that kind of gets balanced out a little bit. It just takes a little while to get there. But then she attacks with her Anachronous Dragon. Akina guards with another perfect guard, and now Hikari ends her turn. Damage is 4-4, and now it goes into Hikari's additional turn. So this is turn 8. Hikari starts, and she goes straight to her battle phase. You know, she stands, draws, straight to battle phase. And this is where we get to see our first new card for Liel Odium. This card's most likely going to get announced on Tuesday, but you know, I saw it, I had to talk about it, try to reverse engineer the skill. We never get to see Hikari's soul, counterblast, or energy count this entire episode, so I don't know what the cost for this card is, but this is literally a grade 2 Anachronous Dragon. The only difference is it doesn't have the retire skill, it has a different skill. But it's called Instant Asunder Colossus, and at the start of her battle phase, she activates its skill, she puts a card from her drop into the regress gauge, and then calls it from the regress gauge. Literally exactly like Anachronous Dragon. So the fact that they have another card that can do that is really, really strong, because binding cards from your hand for Liel's skill is fine if you have to, but ideally you want to be able to bind the rear guard so you can plus up to hand to have more defense. But after she calls it, Hikari then immediately attacks with Liel Odium, and she used Liel Odium's skill. This time she does put a card from hand into the regress. She puts a Distorted Bane, which is probably the best card she could have put from hand. So what Distorted Bane does when it's put into the regress gauge is when it's put into the regress gauge, you get to draw a card, you get to choose one of your vanguards, and it gets 10,000 power. Akina doesn't guard. Remember, Akina's at 4. Now she only gets Twin Drive. Technically, she has the triple drive skill, but because she has -1 drive check, she only gets 2 checks. She still gets a critical, and she gives the power to the new Colossus card and gives the critical to her Vanguard. Akina takes 2 damage, but Akina's second damage is a critical trigger. And like I said, he had used Raziel's Divine skill because he survives with Raziel's Miracle. For anybody that doesn't remember that part of Raziel's Divine skill, if you activate Raziel's Divine skill, you gain the skill that for the rest of the game until it activates, that if you take a damage and it has a trigger and you have 5 cards in your damage zone, if it's not a heal, you get to heal. So he hits a critical trigger, he gets to heal, he survives. Hikari then attacks with Anachronous Dragon. Akina guards. Hikari attacks with Instant Asunder Colossus, and we get to see its second skill, which is on attack, Soul Blast 2, draw a card. That one I don't know how I feel about, because this deck doesn't generate a whole lot of soul, but a Soul Blast 2 to be able to draw a card might actually be good, because sometimes you have some soul that you don't even use. So overall, I think Instant Asunder Colossus is going to be a good addition to the Odium deck, but let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. But Akina survives, Hikari ends. The damage is now 4-5 with Hikari in the lead. But now Akina decides to put Hikari to sleep. So Akina Persona rides the Fated King of Miracles, Raziel Vito, of course, his finisher. He calls Knight of Gentle Beauty Nobia from hand, uses its skill. For anybody that doesn't remember what Nobia does, when it's placed on rearguard, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard Raziel on its card name, counterblast 1, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 grade 3 or less card from among them, call it to rearguard, and you put the rest of the bottom of your deck in any order. But if it's your battle phase, you reveal the card and you put it in your hand instead. Off the top 3, he calls Gargaon, and then he calls Shivalmia from hand. Shivalmia is critical trigger. He moves to his battle phase. He attacks Hikari with Shivalmia, boosted by Gargaon. Hikari guards. He then attacks with Nobia. Hikari guards again. Akina then attacks with Raziel Vita and uses its skill. Raziel Vita skill is when this unit attacks a Vanguard, counter blast 1, choose up to 2 cards with different grades and a total grade less than or equal to the number of cards in your damage zone. Call them to rear guard. And then you can put a grade 3 or greater card with Raziel in its card name from your hand into soul. Use a grade 3 or less card from your drop, call it to rear guard. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, all of the units called by the skill gain 5,000 power. So he calls 2 copies of Gigantic Masher, and he calls Knight of Perspicacity Catullus. So the way he does that is because he calls Gigantic Masher and Catullus, because that's 4, he's at 5 damage. Well, it's a grade 3 and a grade 0. He's at 5 damage, so it really didn't matter. And then he called the other grade 3 by putting the Raziel into soul. Hikari doesn't guard the Vanguard. She's hoping for a trigger. Akina doesn't get a trigger on his twin drive. Hikari doesn't get a damage trigger, but then when Akina attacks with Gigantic Masher, Hikari doesn't guard. She hopes for a heal trigger. She doesn't get it, so Akina wins with the damage 5-6. I mean, we only got to see 2 turns of the game, but it was cool to have some gameplay in the very first episode of the season. That normally doesn't happen. After the game, Hikari leaves. I guess Akina and her made a bet where now he's making a week of healthy meals, and she runs away all upset. Now shows up after the game and is basically like congratulating him on winning, saying it was a good game, and she introduces him to Kagetsu. And we get a flashback of Akina talking to Now, and basically Now was going away for a big tournament, and he asked if she was coming back, and she said not right away. There's somebody she has to go see, someone she hasn't seen in a while, and Akina actually gets kind of jealous, and it was really interesting to see, because this guy starts, wants to ask Akina a question, but he blanks out, and Akina wants to know what this dude's relationship is to Now. So it's the first time you see him a little possessive of Now. We get a little more shenanigans at the festival. It really didn't matter. It was one of Akina's friends going to play Mikoto because he's a big fan of Mikoto. And then we go over to Now and Kagetsu at the table. Akina's bringing them drinks, and Kagetsu starts asking Akina a bunch of random questions, like what his favorite food is, what his favorite drinks are, just nothing that's super important. But he asks him one question that really stands out to Akina, and he basically asks Akina if Akina has a fight he would never forget. If he's had a fight that meant so much to him, he's going to hold on to it forever. And we get a bunch of flashbacks of every time Akina and Now have fought. When she was possessed by Sybil, when he fought her in the Fated Clash, and when they had their very first fight when he was learning the game. And all he says is, yeah, my fight with Now. And Now blushes a little bit. And then this guy, Kagetsu, asks Akina if he has a crush on Now. And, they both blush. Now gets embarrassed. She picks him up. She grabs him by the arm and drags him out. As they're leaving, Akina chases after them. Raika sees this guy and kind of freaks out. He's like, wait a second, is that Kagetsu Yakumo? And if Raika knows him, that's a big deal. But Akina confronts him and basically asks him what his relationship is to Now. And he's like, oh, you're curious? And Now's like, no, you have nothing to worry about. We cut back over to Raika, and we see Raika talking about who Kagetsu actually is. So Kagetsu was a fighter that was so good that he was on par with Michiru. And he was believed that he was going to be one of the front runners, one of the heads of the Vanguard world. He's as good as Michiru. Remember, Michiru is the best player in the world right now. And, they called him the legendary front fighter, which is a silly ass name, but whatever. This guy's apparently a beast. And then we cut back over, and Now basically explains to Akina that this is her master that taught her Vanguard. So this guy is as good as Michiru, taught Now Vanguard, and apparently created Team Blackout, which basically set the entire Overdress season into creation. So yeah, this guy might be that guy. So he ends up introducing himself to Akina, and that's where the episode ends. Honestly, I thought this was a really fun episode to start the season off. We got to see what all of our characters are up to now. We got to get everybody coming into the Deluxe. one nice little setup. We got a little bit of some gameplay. We got to see a new card for Odium. We did get to see at least one new card in this episode, and we got to find out that this new rival character is going to be him. I'm excited for this season. I really want to see some good card fights. I really hope they focus on the card fights. If there's anything I want to see out of this season, I mean, I'm already hyped for it. Old characters coming back, new characters coming together. Let it just be a tournament arc. Don't let it be some save the world with card games. We get enough of that in every single card game anime. Let us just see who's the top dog. Let us get some character development. Let's see Akina finally figure out why he enjoys Vanguard. That's what this whole season's supposed to come out to. Let it focus on the card game. Let us see some crazy fights, but let it just be a tournament arc. Shelve the mysticism for one season, please. But let me know what you guys thought of this first episode down in the comments. Again, let me know if you guys really want to see me cover all the episodes like this. I will do my best. You just might have to bear with me a day or two just to make sure I can get the content out for you guys. I appreciate all the support, guys. We have a great season coming, and I'm really hyped for it. If you guys want to check me out on social media, those links will be down below. If you guys want to see me play Cardfight Vanguard live, Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, be here. That is it from me. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.